Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be drawing this cute holiday giraffe. Just basic supplies, a piece of paper, pencil, eraser. I like to have both an ultra fine and a fine point Sharpie, as well as whatever tool you like to color with. I'm using alcohol-based markers, but you could use colored pencils or crayons or even paint if you'd like. Now, in this video, we're going to go through the drawing twice. So the first time I'm going to draw it with my pencil, and you can just follow along, see the process, and kind of create your idea in your head. And then we'll go back through the process one more time and you can draw alongside me. I'm going to start with my pencil. And we're going to start with the muzzle of our giraffe, which is just below or above center on our paper. So it's kind of like a heart shape or a curved muzzle. I'm not loving how that pencil caught there. So this is why I like to start with pencil. You always can erase and adjust it. And imperfection is okay because it's nature. Nature is imperfect. So don't feel like it has to be 100% identical on each side or symmetrical. I'm going to add some nostrils and a little smile line. And giraffes' eyes are on the sides of their head. They're not on the front of their face like our eyes. So when we draw these, we kind of want to imagine where the line going up is. I know it's really hard to see in the pencil, but kind of a straight line. And their eyes are going to be to the outside edge of that. So kind of like a big circle on the outside edge of that. Now, I like to do these with kind of a sideways V shape. So on top of my circle, I'm going to draw that V, and that's going to give it like the edges. We're going to erase the top and the bottom of that circle, leaving us the actual eye sockets themselves. And then I like to add the inside curve a little further inward. So like this right here will be my eye. Giraffes have beautiful eyelashes, which is why we've got these long lines going out there. So you can kind of curve these up or down and turn them into eyelashes themselves. And then inside of those eyeballs, I like to do a second curve to create the iris versus the pupil. So the outside edge will be the colored part, and then inside will be the black portion of their eye. Of course, add some highlights into that eye. You'll have something like that. Next, we're going to add our little Santa hat up here. Now, we want to leave a little bit of space, maybe about 2 fingers tall, above their eyes to create the Santa hat. And I like to have it curved just a little bit to kind of mimic the shape of their head. You kind of get a rough shape. Depending on how much room you have on the top of your paper, you can just go straight up and make a hat. Or if you want it to kind of curve over the edge, you can have it kind of sitting next to it like this. So it's kind of folded down, going over the side of the original hat. There would be this line that folds, okay? So don't take that out. Add some kind of a cute little pom-pom on the back side. And then we're ready to add their little face underneath. Their head is actually wider at the forehead and skinnier here. So as we curve out from here and go up, we're getting to the edge, right? So now we want to come back in and make this widest at this middle part and then skinnier at the top. So like pretend like this line continues and we get this kind of oblong shape. And he looks silly, like his hat is like on the tippy top of his head right now, but that's because his ears are going to go here. All right, so for the ears, they're kind of like a big leaf ear. They can be kind of behind those eyelashes. That's okay, and behind the hat. So it's like a smile on the bottom, a rainbow with a little smile on the end. And I like to add a second line here to separate where the fur and the inner ear are. And then a big smile back. So we've got some ears on our little guy. And of course, we have to give him his nice long neck. Now, his body's coming to one side. So I'm going to have his neck come from here and go over, which would put the other half of his neck kind of here and come down. Their bodies are wider as they get to the base of their neck and thinner as they get to the top of the head. So this would be skinniest here, and then it gets wider and wider as it goes. Now, the key to making the giraffe look like a giraffe is to add all the spots, right? So when we add those, we want to make sure that we're creating almost like a maze. So you're going to have one little spot, and these spots are very organic. They're just like blobs of glue that you would drop onto a piece of paper or puddles of water. But what we want to have is a space that this road right here is going to run into another spot. We don't want to have all the spots on the sides or all in the middle. We want to have them kind of create this little pathway that makes it look like a little maze that they have to go, you have to drive around. And you can have some that are bigger and smaller. The spots on the neck are going to be the biggest. And then as we get up here to the forehead, those will be a little bit smaller spots. But we want to kind of maintain that same property where none of our spots are identical and they all have these little spaces in there. Right. Pretty good. And now we have our little giraffe. Giraffes do have a little spiky area here on their neck, a mane almost, but I like to wait and add that with my marker at the end. So we're going to go back through that process one more time with me using a Sharpie so you can really see it good and in full detail. Okay, so again, we start with the muzzle, which is like a smiley shape with almost like the top of a heart. We're going to add our little nostril. And of course, this little smile line. And we'll add those eyes. Again, I started with that circle, then I added my V, and then I erased the part of the circle that was outside of my little V shape. And making sure that the edge of the eye is in line with the muzzle so that it is completely on the side of the giraffe's head. And I rotate my paper a lot. Helps me draw evenly and not hurt my wrists. If you can do it with your paper staying straight, that's okay too. There's no right or wrong way to art. That's the story of it. And we're going to connect the eyes and the mouth, kind of creating a curve that goes up and away from the muzzle. So that gets skinny at the bottom. And creating that rounded shape up for the eye at the top of the forehead. So it's widest at the eyes and then comes in. We'll add our little hat. Starting with the brim. And of course, a nice big round pond. Don't don't feel like your circles have to be perfect either. The more you draw circles, the better you will get at them, but don't feel like they have to be perfect. We're going to add those ears. We start with that rainbow and then a curve under, like a smile, and then a big smile connecting it to the body. It gives it that little tip or twist at the end of the ear, which is adorable. Like they're kind of twitching their ear. I'm going to give him his neck. Then we're ready to add all of those spots. Now I've been using my fine point Sharpie for all of this. Once I get to the head of the giraffe, those spots, I will switch to my ultra fine so that it is a little bit smaller and gives more detailed look instead of like a really thick black mark on the giraffe's head. Switch to my ultra fine, and now I'm going on top of the lines. And I do recommend that everyone start with pencil and outline with Sharpie. You're creating a muscle memory for your body to make these shapes when you draw them in pencil while you're thinking and forming them. But when you're just tracing them, it's creating that muscle memory so that your body and your brain just work together and you draw exactly what you want. So the more you do this, the better you'll get. And if you decide you want to add something more in there that wasn't in there in pencil, that's totally okay too. All right, now for my spiky mane, I'm going to use this thin one too. I'm just going to add some like zigzaggy lines coming off of his neck so that they're taller. And then when I color it in with my markers or pens, whatever I decide to color the sky with, I will just kind of stay in those lines and use this as like a highlight and a shadow within the mane. Just try not to get too much of a pattern. Our brain is just destined to make patterns out of things. It's how we remember and create memories. But with art, we want to try to make it more random. And so sometimes we get stuck where we're really making it into a pattern. You don't necessarily have to. That is your adorable giraffe. You can color him however you would like. Now, if you want to add more detail to the sky, you can totally add maybe some snowflakes in the background. Well, I would make a plus sign and then an X. Put some little circles on the end of this. Make them big. You can make them little. And have some pieces that are longer and some that are shorter. And just make the giraffe how you want it to look. This is your art. Don't recreate my own art. Recreate or create your very own. And if you enjoyed this drawing, be sure to come and check out some of my other holiday drawings like the ones that are in this playlist. I hope to see you again.